To another steel play of Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. We're going to be doing chapter 9 on hard mode today. I'm going to give you some heads up tips on how to get through this chapter painlessly. Since I did it before, this will be my first time actually doing it on Intergrade, but more or less I know how to play this game. I wrote like almost 80-page handwritten, in-depth combat guide. So yeah, I know a lot about this game. Some of the best builds, all that. So Cloud doesn't particularly have a best weapon per se. None of the characters do, but I can tell you this for sure that there are some weapons he excels at and some he doesn't. So ultimately, me personally, I like the Iron Blade best, next to Mithril Saber, right second, and then third Hard Edge, so on and so forth. But Twin Stinger is really good. He's one of my favorites as well. So, my build for him is going to be as follows: a hard elemental build, critical enemy skill absorption, and we generally, through our playthrough, is going to be wanting to work on revival materia. So that should be something that you should concentrate on. If you have the DLC pack, which everybody has access to now, definitely throw on your Carbo. Throw Carby onto Cloud. If not, for Carbo, then use Fat Choco or Bahamut. The Mutt, the Fat Choco, Choco Chick, Choco Mog, or the Carbuncle. You could also take Leviathan. It's also a nice shortcut for some nice spirit or classic Ifrit. But if you have access to the Bahamut, then take the Dragon King map. Dragon King is good because it rounds his stats out perfectly. Dragon King with the Twin Stinger is actually a pretty rounded out Cloud. You really can't go wrong with it, as the Twin Stinger will offer things in general for him, both magically and physically. So both magical and melee. So as you can see, it has all the things it needs. It excels, I should say, in melee, but it also excels in a mana pool while having still decent, not as high as the Iron Sword, but decent, with good MP growth, and it shares a lot of traits with that of the Hard Edge and that of the Iron Sword. It's the closest thing you'll get to the Buster Sword. While Buster Sword will be better in the stats department, not really. Twin Stinger is an illusion. It would make you think the Buster Sword's better, but it's not. Trust me, Twin Stinger is better all the way. Now that is arguably one of the worst, I think. Anyway, we're not going to be doing that. I'm going to be taking Cloud. I'll be using his Mithril Saber today. But fuck it. Let's take the Twin Stinger. Get a nice rounded stats. If you use the Bahamut materia, then yeah, you could take it. Cog Bangle is usually preferred, but you could take Rune Armlet, or if you want to take less materia, Astral Cuff or Iron Maiden. But this is subjective because you won't be working on anything. Cog is the safest, in my opinion. Seeing as if this is going to be your first time playing hard mode, I would go with Cog. Because you really don't want to get hit hard in either department, and since she lacks the stamina, realistically, not really spirit, but the stamina to hold up her defense, she may need to hold up high defenses stats in both departments, both magically and regular. You know what I mean? Because vitality and spirit is a reflection upon the defense stat and the magic defense stat. So they modify them, so to speak. So if we decide to take the Rune Armlet, we're gonna get a shit ton in like magic defense, but it's not gonna do anything for our spirit or vitality, because defense doesn't do that in this game, like in the original game. They have raw stats. So in fact, by getting an Iron Maiden, it gives us a -1. Oh shit. Usually material will dictate that. Iron Maiden just gives us a raw shitload of defense, which she could use because of her low vitality stat. Her high spirit stat is fine. High spirit stat means that she can afford to have a low magic defense stat. But where meeting in the middle could get a little tricky is how you decide about going about dispensing your damage. That's where I refer to Cogbangle, because it gives you one slot, one single. So that's how I look at it. You have a single and a slot. If you have a slot, all things will connect into a slot eventually, right? Slots and connected slots. Single slots or connected slots. So this has one connected and one single. Two singles, one connected. Is probably, well, I mean, ultimately, in the end, for weapons, you'll ultimately want to have three connected. Every character should have three connected, at least on one of their weapons. Have one weapon with three connected. You don't have to have a weapon with three connected, though. In fact, you idealistically want to have one weapon of each. A weapon with one connected, four single, two connected, and one single, and two single I should say, two connected, two single, and then three connected. So you have three connected slots, which is usually the Twin Stinger. I would reserve that for. Then have two connected slots and two single slots with the Mithril Saber. Hard Edge, have that to be your other, similar to your Yin to your Yang. Make this your double slotted single, double single. Double slot, double connected, double single is usually perfect for most weapons. Your triple connectors are going to be things like your Buster Boil Blade and your Twin Stinger, mainly. As those are your base, like, you know what I mean? And those are going to be from materia growth predominantly. And you could use a Buster Sword, but I'm telling you, you'll probably get more damage on with the Twin Stinger. You could take the Buster Sword this route if you want. It looks good on paper, but it's not as good as the Twin Stinger. But don't take my word for it. That being said, I'm gonna probably give her a Force Supreme Bracelet. And give her a probably Circlet and Revival Materia, of course. Because one's maxed out already, and we'll give her the maxed out one. I'm not against that. And Magnify some good old healing, or yeah, we should Magnify Fire in this area. If you Magnify Fire, you could wreak havoc to a lot of things, or Lightning actually. She has Synergy Poison on, that's actually good. But I'm gonna go with Synergy Lightning in this case scenario. Elemental Wind, Fire, Magnify Fire, Magnify Lightning, Synergy Fire, Magnify Lightning. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Or Wind, you could do too. Synergy Wind because of the amount of pressure it causes. Fire on the weapon could be useful as well because, well, I mean, you just think about it. Lightning could be useful on the Magnify as you get the most of your buck. Oh, and of course, we have to make sure we have something on him as well. So, personally, I think Fire is your best bet here. It's the safest and it's your best choice. you know, you want to make sure that you're on the up and up, right? So technically, you really should be having a magic up, a first strike on, steadfast block, a skill master. You don't really need skill master because you should be fast enough to kill these enemies before that point, you know? Unless you have first strike up. If you have revival and AP up, then that should be more than enough, honestly. Relying on these 4 alone. Skill master, steadfast block, first strike, and then you could work from there. So for me, I'm gonna do AP up and all that. Enemy skill, HP absorb. That's just me though. So lightning will go up. We have maxed elemental. This is just understanding that I have choices at the onset of the fight. So I'm probably going to give her the time materia. So that she could throw down time. Yep, because she has maxed out revival. And instead of synergy win, now probably just going to go healing. Maxed healing, and then time, and then you can also work on another one that we need to work on actually, which is like warding. Because I'd like to work on the warding, is why. And I want to have Carbo on, so let's have him on, and while we're at it, so yeah. Now we'll be good to go. Oh, one other thing too, let's make sure we have our battle settings straight up. Make sure Disorder is set, because it's the only proper way to use it. Blade Burst needs to be set. Only proper way to use it. Counter Stance needs to be set. Okay, he's good. Good. Subjective, whether or not you actually need to use Braver or Blade Burst, but Blade Burst really is the best. It really does come in on top. I've observed the damage amounts, and I've looked at them and really analyzed, and took a look, and I looked at Blade Beam. Blade Beam does the most damage. Blade Burst, basically, which was originally called Blade Beam, but yeah. Blade Beam is the best. It outbeats Triple Slash, it definitely does, because of the amount of pressure it delivers. But in general, it's mainly because it's magic damage, not because of the pressure. It's because of the amount of damage it does in general, because of the radius it covers. Triple Slash comes in close, but because its damage goes down instead of up on the same target, is a big thumbs down. And the fact that its pressure is hardly nothing.
I don't like this part of Midgar.
It's only good at positional. Like, it's good at positioning Cloud, Triple Slash, but once you get Blade Beam, it seems that the positioning is less relevant, because, think about it, Triple Slash is basically the equivalence of about half of what Braver would be, right? But Blade Beam, or Blade Burst, is basically 1 ATB bar for an equivalent of a second tier spell that goes out in 3 directions that could hit almost any foe on the fucking field in that direction. Like a goddamn, like a talon, like a 3-pronged talon. I mean, it's second level, it's basically second tier magic for free for 1 ATB that shoots in 3 directions, dishing out area damage with non-elemental Mako damage, plus any elemental damage infused to the weapon. Meaning that you are doing basically the most powerful form of magic. And you basically are doing the potency of that of a Braver for every enemy that gets hit by that Mako. They get hit by pretty much what would be about out of roughly equivalent to a Braver potency. And this spans across the entire field without Cloud having to move anywhere. It only gets bigger as it ripples outward, therefore making the charge time a little bit longer than Braver, but is well worth it. Damage amount is, yes, smaller, but it can be stacked upon. Like I said, it's magic damage. So its power is only 370 something, whereas the other, opposed to Braver, has a power of 400. Its power is definitely higher, but again, the Twin Stinger's biggest plus is how it's magically infused and how much damage you can actually reap the benefit from the magical infusion.
And that's?
What this game did great though is just introducing Midgar, you know, and introducing it proper, the way it should have been done and the way it wanted to be done back in 1997 when they released it for the PlayStation 1. Because I'm a Generation 1 gamer, and I'll tell you, they nailed it, you know? They nailed FF7 Remake. They nailed it so hard, they actually overcompensated. Like, it took the, like, literally outdid themselves. With Rebirth on the way, you know, I mean, it really did a good job. This game's a masterpiece. It's like one of the best mainline FF games to date right now, I think. Whilst I'm hyped for 16, but still, I gotta admit, there's a fine line between 16 and 17, aka Rebirth. Or 7 Remake. But yeah, this is like the OG fans like me and everybody who likes the Rebirth and Remake. But everybody knows that there's a distinct direction between the two. And of course I am of the former. You know, the one a part of the remake team. Dev 1 team. Because those are my people. And that's probably why 7 was so good, the remake, Intergrade and everything, is because the original team is all still there, you know? They still had the original team, pretty much all of them that made the original game possible. They kind of pretty much still fulfilled their roles to make this game, and that's probably why this game is so closely similar to what we had gotten back in 1997, and it doesn't stray too far from that path. It's because, well, same scenario writer, same battle director, it's the same, you know, director. Well, I mean, yes, the directors have changed, some positions have been changed and altered, but more or less, it's the same team. Yoshinori Kitase, all of them. Tetsuya Miura, they all kind of came back to do this. And they're gonna see it through. So, for short battles, you'll find First Strike is going to be pretty handy. For longer battles, though, not so much. Also, always keep in mind your area spec. And Diamond Dazzle keeps your Auto 3 lifed out, so Auto Life 3, only get that from Seraphic. Or Renewal Earrings for Life 3.
It's been like this, you know.
So this is the collapsed fucking collapsed highway. This isn't the last time we're gonna see the highway though, because we're gonna actually make our way to the Sector 7 highway. Well, what's left of it at least. That leads to the expressway, that eventually will bring us to the Shinra headquarters that leads all the way atop at Sector 0, where the main power companies, presidential offices and main headquarters. And then eventually we get on there, and then eventually we get back onto the expressway, and we go eventually to the crossroads and face up with the big bad. And yeah, Terpsichore.
Say goodbye. Deal with that.
So it's my turn? That's it! It's your turn!
My turn.
Get him!
All right. That'll do. That's it.
Go on!
Try this.
Alright. It's always easy to have First Strike when you're starting off because it just helps.
I'm pretty good at protecting myself, you know.
Take the lead.
Here goes!
I'm waiting.
Back me up, okay? You can do it!
Taking over. Keep it together.
You'll see. I'll take that. Get him!
My turn. Don't overdo it.
I'll show you what I can do.
Let's do this.
There you go.
Let's go.
You gotta just get it. Also, try to get into the habit of switching your characters around. They call it a character rotational.
What's that?
You know, you rotate your characters.
Kinda cute,
Rotate them
actually.
around as you use your abilities. And this will give you sort of a habit of also making healthy use of their abilities in sync with one another, as the game is intended to be played. Try to always make a habit of switching your characters upon executing their commands and then locking on. Because you also lose your lock-on privileges, so this will keep yourself locked on. There may be some things you may have to adjust in your controls, but
Oh,
whatever
great.
feels most comfortable, I
Someone's
guess.
pulled up the ladder. I wonder if we can use this.
You know, in the original game, this whole hand job thing, no pun intended, was really just like a maze that you had to figure out and just walk up of. But now they changed it up a little bit, made it more interactive, which is pretty cool. Like, we all remember, like, in the original FF7, like, how, you know, it was just initially it was just like a maze that you'd walk through it.
This way.
Like, it's, like, so amazing, and I wouldn't lie about it. Like, if this was a bad game, I would tell you. So I was a little let down when they said that they were cutting it all for PS4, but, like, I ended up getting a PS5 anyway. But the thing is, like, yeah, I feel like it's unfortunate, but I am happy that they're moving forward with the game. I guess ultimately they made the right decision, because the game looks fantastic, and it's a lot better on PS5 that I played it thus far. But to be honest, I am looking forward to Rebirth. And also, this is the best Final Fantasy game probably since 10. I think we could all admit that, right? I mean, unless you count 14 as a main installment. It's more like, that is, but it isn't. But I look at it like the series hasn't seen one like this since fucking 10.
Well, what
10
did I
is the
tell ya?
last really good game that we had. 12 doesn't count because 12 was an Evil East game. That shit's different. It's like Vagrant Story, you know? But the last game that we got like this was like 10. That was 10. They had the failed attempt at 13, which was terrible. 15 was... what happened there? We don't know. We don't know. We'll never know what happened there. But Tetsuro doesn't know either, and he's not happy. And he took it out in Kingdom Hearts 3, as we all knew, because you could tell. Not one Final Fantasy made their appearance in Kingdom Hearts 3, because he was pissed. He was pissed that they took his masterpiece and turned it into crap. I don't blame the guy. So then he was like, I demand to be director of 7, you motherfuckers. You fucking took my masterpiece and turned it into shit. So then he got that, and I was like, Yoshinori Kitase was like, alright, fair enough, you get to be director of it. And then, so he got to be director, and now he's director of 7, Remake, and Rebirth, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the best Final Fantasy game that they've made since 10. I mean, as we know, the game definitely has that feel like 10, right? I mean, you know... where's my remote? Because apparently my TV talks to me sometimes, even though I'm not talking to it. You know, it's fucking Abby again. Alright, I really try not to rely on this, but you can, the regen. I try to use other things. Like, there are other things that you could do as opposed to just always relying on regeneration. For example, just use Algid Aura. That shit's awesome.
Here it comes!
I'm waiting. It's on you.
Here goes! Get ready! One more shot!
My turn.
That's it!
Again, I do double. It's a freaking double.
Can you handle them?
Hang back.
Oh, that's weird.
He's gone.
Really?
People panic though when people get in the red and they're like, oh my god, they're in the red. Oh no, don't worry, you'll be fine. Look, watch, you'll be out of the red in like a second. Boom, out of the red. Like, I don't really worry It's not a big deal. Worst comes to worst, well, what? You just start a battle over. It's not the end of the world. The whole idea is to learn not how to have to use them. You know, like healing. That's why I look at people and they're like, some of the best builds. I'm like, are you serious? HP materia is your best build? Please. Dude, I have ways of being able to fucking... Like, why do you need all that HP? Like, first of all, I'll give you one little tip of that. The fact is that the best materia really is magic up materia. And luck up materia after that. Magic up is predominantly the best. Then luck up. Probably those are the two best ones. When it comes to the ups. You know, there's a lot of up materias, and HP and MP are not one of them. They're really not that good. Unless you're going to use them as a base value just for Barrett's lifesaver, then fine, be my guest. That's a good idea. But other than that, I don't see any point of using HP up. Most of the damage you're going to take in the game is relevantly portioned, or proportioned, I should say. It's proportionate to the amount you usually have. So when you take heavy damage from an attack, it's usually going to be based off of the base amount you have. Same thing with the amount that you heal. Or if there was a drain, like, you know, like a poison on you. You know, the HP up materia is very iffy for me. It's like bubble. It's like, is it useful or is it shit? To me, sounds like shit. Like, I feel like I could use it situationally, just to increase my stamina, but it's really just saying, get good, or don't play, or just be an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? It's just saying, get good. Like, learn how to use your raises, and learn how to use your time more proper. That's why, again, it leans more towards magic up, and luck up. Because Skill Master, these can be repeatedly used over and over. AP up is, again, just to harness something that has valuable use. Raise. HP absorb enemy skills better than probably regeneration, if you ask me. However, Carby is useful. I will not deny that. Though if we're gonna go this route, then I would have to take this off and give that over to somebody else. The Skill Mastery? Which I could do, actually. I could probably do that. And that's because he has the Whistling Scarf. So therefore, I'd probably give him the time alone. Or I'd give him healing by itself, one or the other. Probably the... that's a tough one. Healing, probably, I guess. Because healing is inevitably, it's one of the most important, obviously, we all know that. But Skill Mastery can always be used over and over, and ATB Boost is also really good too. It's another strong one. It's a lot of good ones that I like to use, but not always in a core build, you know? Some things are better off not using a core build. But I don't like my material looking kind of weird like that. I like it to look normal. I don't usually use the twin stinger, but it's not bad. They did a really, really good job, though, when it came to presenting Midgar, and to keep it on a game that's scoped out on a 40-hour playthrough, main campaign style. You know, it's pretty impressive. Especially for those who grew up in the original game. Like, I love playing the game on hard mode, being able to revisit all the wonderful areas they crafted, you know, into this beautifully, you know, redefined world that was originally introduced as, like, disgusting screens that you really just couldn't wait to fucking get out of. They smothered you in it. Like, Midgar was a place that you just wanted to leave, where it actually made you feel like you wanted to be in Midgar, and it was inviting. So, for a lot of us, first-time players and grew up alongside FF7, I mean, many of us have adopted this into kind of the new definitive FF7 for our time. I mean, I don't want to ever say it's going to be the definitive FF7, but it kind of is. For our day and age, this has been, and this is coming from an FF7 you know, a Generation 1 fan, you know, like a person who grew up alongside the original FF7. I could say, without a doubt, that Final Fantasy VII, the integrated remake, is better, or at least it's just as good. It's just as good. You know, that's how good this game is. It's so good that it lived up to, or has exceeded the expectation of, its predecessor. Which is exactly what this did. It presented the game on the scope of that which you'd expect a game like Final Fantasy to bring, in the form of more like that of what you'd see scripted out like that of 10. Because that seems like the direction they took, was Spira. Right? When I look at Midgar, I think of Spira. They have an overworld that you could look at any given point in time, but you can't ever really like examine it more than this. You could just look at Spira, similar you could look at Midgar. Like, I noticed that was one similarity that stood out almost immediately, was how Spira and Midgar are sort of like scaled out the same way. They got an overviewed map that you could take a look at. Then I also took a look at the battle menu. Very much the same thing again. They have materia and equipment. You have upgrade weapons, and the other one you had equipment, and then you'd have sphere levels, and then you'd have sphere levels, and you'd have equipment, and you'd have basically the same shit, bro. The like help at the bottom, or the system. More or less, though, everything is the same. It's very similar. The only difference is everything on the left side instead, I think. Or on the right side? Yeah, on the right side. I gotta find my lighter. So yeah, most enemies in this area are gonna be weak to fire, so you can just pop off Alcadora with fire in your element, and you should be fine. That's what I'm gonna do, at least. I know that. Can't find my fucking lighter. Where did I put my lighter? Hold on, I gotta get my lighter. Oh, I placed it. Oh, fucking idiot. Huh. Where is it? I think I might have lost it. Yo, no! I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so like I said, another thing I really like about the hard mode is that it makes you actually use the characters to their full extent, as like that of, per se, a full Final Fantasy game. Again, like I said, it has the scope of a full Final Fantasy game, no different than 10. And its story feels on par with that of 10. It feels like roughly about a 30-ish hour campaign without being forced. Like, it doesn't feel forced. And like I said, I'm a day one. I'm somebody who grew up alongside Final Fantasy VII, and I'm telling you for a fact that none of the areas in this game were infatuated by any stretch of the imagination. And if anything, it's quite the opposite. This game actually corrected a few issues with the original game. For starters, the scaling. Let's talk about that. It made no sense how the sewers of Midgar were only one screen long. They were literally a screen. Like, it was one screen, you fought a show, the zoo. You just go through a screen, fight a couple of Sahagins, you obtain steel, whatever, and grab like a potion, tincture, whatever, go to another screen, you end up back up the graveyard, and then you just cross another screen, go through a series of trains and whatnot, then you just go upward, around, you move one train over, move the other into the other one, and then you cross over that specific area, you run into an Eligor, and then you could steal a Blade of Staff from it or not. It's not really even a boss encounter, and then you just keep going, and then you just get back to the Sector 7, and then you go onto the top, and then that's it. Like, it was so scrunched, and it was, like, cut bare bones. Like, the sewers didn't make any sense. You literally skipped, like, a shitload of territory that covered mass of fucking ground, mass ground. We're talking like at least 20 yards, maybe more, like miles. Like, I don't even know, but it didn't make any sense. It was like we traveled all this ground only to go one screen over to find out that we're all the way back to the entire different sector. It just didn't make sense. And at that point, I think we all knew that we were just rushing to the finish point, because they just didn't have the technology to properly, introduce Midgar to have it perform for the audience for that period or length of time. It wasn't able to amuse or particularly, draw any, any attention, really. Like, Midgar was sort of losing its attention, and, if not for the spectacular FMVs and whatnot, and all the action-packed, things that were going on in events, to sidetrack us. But I think really with 7 Remake, one of the main reasons that made it so good in its story is because the story has been laid out already for us. This is based off of a mainline entry that was not infatuated with fat, but placed love and care and dedication that made Final Fantasy X or any other previous entries so good in what it is today, what we now have for Final Fantasy VII. But it's just with a much more dedicated approach to the narrative that we had ever seen. Only had seen that one time before, and that was for Final Fantasy 13. And in 10, but again, I'd say 10 is it's closer to what we got here. Because, think about it. 13 was way too linear, but 10 sounds about right. You start off action-packed, you get closed off for a little while with Besaid, then you go back out action-packed again with a party, this time of 3, then you get closed off again, and then you have only a party of 2, and it's very similar to the setup, I'm telling you, very, very similar. This part of the game right now is sort of the part of the game where we are, like, in the middle of Luca, and we are sort of like letting Waka take the spotlight. This is basically that exact part of the game. Just like, I could give you the exact same name of each character. Cloud, Titus. Aerith, Yuna. Tifa, Lulu. Waka, Barrett. Yuffie, Riku. What do you call it? Vincent Valentine, Auron. This isn't hard to do. Kate Sith, well, I'm not gonna lie, that would probably be Luju and Gada, my friends. Sid Highwind, well, we already have Sid. And, honestly, we already know 10 and fucking 7 are connected, so there's no denying that. And I have already have proof that they're connected. Not only did Yoshinori Katase state it outright, but I know they're connected because I played 10 and I played 7, and they're the only 2 games in the franchise that have the same chocobos. Literally, they have the same fucking chocobos. Think about each game, bro. Think about them. They have the same logo. Not only that, but they also have the same character abilities. Like, for example, Cloud, he has swordplay. Titus, he has swordplay. You think that's just a coincidence? I don't think it is. Cloud's limit breaks, I mean, honestly, they are exactly like Titus. Titus's overdrives and Cloud's limit breaks are the same. Blitz Ace, Omni Slash, shit. Meteor Rain, like they're very similar. Surprising they didn't have anybody like that in this one. I don't know how Red 13 is gonna play, and I know that Yuffie doesn't really do that either. She doesn't have any slots or anything like that. Chocobo character Carbo is very helpful though, I will not lie on that. Fat Chocobo though is good for somebody like Aerith who can basically... That's why I try to gear away from that and I go with Steadfast Block and other things that are more useful. Have better use, like Prey is really good use of my time. And I can make use of Prayer. Like I can't make use of the other thing. Even that I can make use of, but the other thing, not really. And that's how I'm gonna go about it. And I'll guarantee you my safety, watch. Every time I do, I just go like this and I win. They're gone. You could just opt to do that too, just self-destruct your shit, bro. It's a crazy land. Cause you can do that also if you want. Just have fun and have a blast. If you're gonna do that though, make sure to have healing material. But since we're not at the chests or anything like that, we're pretty much in the clear for that. We don't have to worry about that. I mean, you can grab them if you want, sure, why not? But we gotta fight this douchebag in a second here now.
Keep it together.
I'm coming. Here.
And that's why I said one of your best choices in this point of the game is to use Blade Burst. Once you have access to it, it just makes sense to do. Also, make use of Prey and stop using fucking, like, regeneration for everything.
Enough of you.
And again, Blade Burst is your answer to most of your troubles, trust me. Get away from that self-destruct.
That was close.
Let's do this.
Hey!
Blade
I'll show you
Burst.
what I can do.
I won't give up.
Stop them as you can. Or just take the damage. Self-destruct. It's coming out. And yeah, you could just throw a spell if you want. Just go boom, cure. I don't really worry too much about health. That's not how I play. The way I play is either you're gonna die or you're not gonna die, and if you die, you're dead. If you don't die, you don't die. And remember, gaming is an art, right? And my art is, well, it is what it is. If you like it, just trust me, if you follow the way I play, you won't die. Don't pay attention too much to,
Hey, I bet you can grab that
like,
container with you.
regeneration and shit. Just get damage done, man. Your best defense is your best offense. Your best offense is your best defense, but it always goes back to your best offense. Alright, we gotta grab the containers and get over to the other side. We gotta do 2 of these.
Not
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Advanced Intergrade. It's okay, but it's not as good as the other one.
Yeah?
Again, like, this game mimics 10 to a T, so I do feel like right now we are playing Blitzball and trying to win against the Luca goers. Because that's the part of the game that we're at right now.
Always gotta be so tough.
Like, literally, it's exactly what we're up to.
Lucky for me, you'll make this easier.
Then after this, we'll finally cross the Mian High Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And face the big bad at the Mian High Road after Mushroom Rock. And finally come face to face with the big boy. Which is Sinsborn Gui in that case, but in this case would be the Don Corneo. I think I get to bring this over here, and yep. This one's not hard, it's the other one, but neither of them are really hard, they just take a little bit of time. Go for the ride, and let him jump up. That's another main reason why I have a lot of faith in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is because the story more or less is finished, and we already know what to expect, you know, from the gameplay and all that, and we kind of know that it's in good hands, because more or less I can't complain about the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII as a whole. As a whole, I think it's fine. Okay. Okay, all for the ride, I guess. And I think you gotta get her up there, up on the top, probably. Oh, I think I see. I'm pretty sure. Yep. I knew it. Okay. The other one will be a little bit more complex.
Right there. Hold on while I drop the ladder.
And you know, Final Fantasy X was originally going to be an action. They wanted to make it an action RPG at first, until they decided not to, and then they made the conditional turn-based battle system. But that's not how they wanted it at first. At first, they wanted it to be like this. That's kind of the irony, is that it finally is now like this, and this is what they initially planned for 10. There's a battle system more on the lines of this, with 13. Anyway, I'm equipping a different weapon because I just use the other one better, so. There's a bench over here too. And there's a squatters over there as well. Just use fire magic and you can take them down easy peasy. Burke, Beck, and Butch.
Look.
Someone made a campfire.
Fire magic against all human enemies is your safest bet. That's why the Mytho Saber. Again, HP up is useless. I hate using it. There's no point in never using it. Skill Master is very, very good. And there's a million reasons as to why you'd want to use it, so. First strike, not really that useful. That's because lock up is so much better. ATB assist and ATB boost, keep them on her. It makes the most sense to have with her. Magnify the time materia, make sure she has a maxed out revival, because this makes a really idealistic build for Aerith. Because these are pieces that are dedicated more or less to Aerith. So you see, Steadfast will automatically increase the defenses of a person that's given to it, and their ATB boost will go up by portion. No different than it would as well. It's not the same as an ATB charge. ATB increase and ATB boost are a little different. See? Large ATB increase. ATB boosts, these actually double the amount of ATB gained during your ATB charge, your active time charging. So an active time charge battle command. So while the ATB meter charges, boost provides a 50% increase. Any boost means that you obtain a 50% increase on whatever it is that's charging the meter. So whether that be your defense or, like for example, Steadfast Block, it offers a boost on your defending when you guard, whereas First Strike gives you an ATB boost at the onset of battle. When you get into an encounter, it gives you a 50% boost at the start. So if you pair that with something like the Whistlewind Scarf, will start you with a complete and almost 100% filled 2 ATB bars. So you probably almost have like 80% filled, almost 2 bars, but more or less. Especially with the few seconds it takes to fill the, by the time the encounter begins, you already have both bars filled already. Luck Up and Magic Up are just the 2 best statistical up materials. It would be Luck Up and Magic Up. Hence, you can't buy them anywhere or anything. You just have to get them. They are the best ones to get by far, and the best, most worth investing in, if you would ask me personally. Deadly Dodge is good because of its pairing with HP Absorb, but make sure you use it on the right person. These seem to be staples for more like Tifa, but you can use them on Cloud. Though I prefer to use other things on Cloud like HP Absorb, but it's subjective. Or we can go crazy with Luck Up. If we decide to do it that way, then we would have to definitely switch over to the Iron Blade. It's got an uneven fit to it, right? I mean, with the effort material it does. Yeah. I can feel that. Yeah. Check it. Like that.
Piece of cake. Come on. Get ready. Shit.
That was close. Get him!
Deal with that.
Here goes. Mind backing off a bit. Tagging out.
I got this. Say goodbye. Don't overdo it.
I'll take care of them. What the? And catch. This one's for you.
Now watch. It's gonna use.
This might be it. We gotta give it our all.
My turn.
Get him!
Get ready.
One more shot!
Here it comes.
That's it. Just like that, brother. Now we automatically heal up our health. I haven't even used any MP. Amazing. Easy peasy. I know what weapon is his best, and it's the iron sword if you want to know. But yeah, that's the best weapon by far. One of the broken pieces is synergy. This is a broken piece of material, and the reason why it's broken is because of what it does. It allows a character to endlessly just keep using shit over and over and over and over. It's insane what it can do. But I don't think you should do it until the end of the game, really. Hold off. That's what I would do. Because if you do, it doesn't make any sense. Alright, there we go. Now we should be good to go.
Whoa, not too fast, okay?
Got it.
It's an amazing thing that they did though, like changing this Midgar piece of shit that we got back in like 1997 into an amazing all-out Final Fantasy game. A 38-hour main campaign, you know, mainline title. Like, it's just insane. Like, if anything, I just feel like they actually put the game back together again and made it like that much better than it was originally. Because they gave it like a lot of spirit.
Anybody around?
They gave soul to a lot of the areas that were dead.
Guess it's just us.
Especially Midgar. That was the place that we hated most about 7. Is now sort of now looked at as a beloved, a memorable, you know, something to look back on
Should we relight it? Have our own campfire?
with a memory like all its
I
own.
need to get back. Besides,
Looky here, boys! Caught us some burglars!
Like I said, best Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X.
I'd say we're owed compensatory damages!
Followed format tried and true. It's got the charm, and it doesn't lack the wit, but it's got the silver tongue, and it's got the script, it's got the story. It's just, it meets all the expectations that you would expect a Final Fantasy game to have. It's amazing how good this game is, especially for a Final Fantasy game. And what it should be, you know, what it means, what is a modern Final Fantasy game. Well, this is a great example of what a modern turn-based action RPG would really be like if you took a turn-based ATB system and put it into real action. This is the best way to do it. I feel like this is the best example. Taking the ATB system, the turn-based system they had, and taking it into modern console, onto a modern console. This would be the best way to show it all. Because this has all the realistic mechanics like countering and whatnot. And of course, most of your predominant abilities come out of the action command menu. So, making it realistic as possible. Because Cloud, he runs off of a parry system that he could use using counter stance. Aerith uses magic solely and completely, so her specialty obviously lies within the magic uses that she has. So when you pair elemental materia to her, it really benefits her because of the fact that she just shoots out magic. Like straight up. That's what's good about Aerith, is that once you slot elemental into her, she just magic all the time. It's just free magic. So there's really no sense of ever really using magic with her, I don't think. Unless it's synergized or whatever, because what's the point? Synergy bio is one of the best things to do. Synergize lightning, synergize arrow, a lot of good things to synergize, man. That's all raw sewage, by the way. And yeah, similar to Spira, Midgar is about the same scope. Like in its size, like in the areas that we go to visit, the size of the world itself that's introduced. Midgar is about on the same scale as Final Fantasy X was. Spira and Midgar, they're about the same. The way they're introduced and all that. Like I said, the same exact story structure was taken here. And since the same exact, almost, like I said, it's almost like it's the same exact story structure, so given that, we really are looking at Final Fantasy X more or less, and how it was structured. Hybrid of 13 and 10, kind of, more like, right? Because I do feel like I'm somewhere between Luca or the Me and High Road. Just somewhere like roughly close to the Mushroom Rock, where we fight the big ass Sin operation in Final Fantasy X. That's sort of where I feel like I am right now in terms of progress. I feel like I'm at the point in the story where we're getting close to the Mihin High Road, you know? We just sort of got attacked by the Chocobo Eater, and now we're moving onward. Because that's sort of what that whole thing was. Those are the Chocobo Eaters. I mean, it really wasn't a Chocobo Eater, but you know what I mean.
Wait, you guys! Don't leave me! I'm coming!
It's one of those silly encounters, like Chocobo Eater or...
Question, but why did you quit being a soldier?
That is random.
You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Did you have any soldier friends? Any war buddies?
No. Not really.
Oh, okay.
And just like the Me and High Road, there are two parts to that area. You fight the Chocobo Eater, and then you go further into the High Road.
Huh? What we got here? Fresh meat to test our new going.
Uh-oh.
Just go away! I'll show you what I can do. Get ready. Don't let him stop this.
Nice! Gnarly, man, gnarly.
Go on.
Woof!
After you.
Here goes. Stay strong, okay?
Enough of you.
He's going into mode.
You're done.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye! Again, Cloud could be a beast, man, if he really wants to be. Yeah, he can be. And like I said, as long as you have that raise spell, you're in good shape. Because raise is a saving grace, as we all know. But remember, Seraphic, that's a good one too. So you don't die as much. Because remember, if you're going to be working on materia, then it can be kind of difficult. This is the one that's got the 2 now. We don't have to get the materia because we don't get two magnify materias. So, unfortunately, we only get 1 magnify materia ever, I think. There's no 2 magnify, so just work the levers, we'll get across, like it's...
Cloud!
Alright, all we gotta do is place the container down, and then... I'm not 100%, but I think we just gotta do that. Not 100%, but I'm blowing off my gut here. But honestly, the fact of the matter lies, I think, mainly within the amount of players that this game has to offer in the terms of the team, is that it just allows for a very hands-on approach and experience when it comes to the characters. Like every ally, they were allowed to give each and every single one a unique and defined, approach. And that in itself is sort of like, kind of like interesting because, hold on one second, because of the fact that we haven't really seen that since games like Final Fantasy VI, but it is mainly that, and that most of all, that makes most of the better games of Final Fantasy. The best Final Fantasies are the ones that seem to have very prominent defined character attributes. Like, for example, 7, it thrived because its story was so interweaved to its characters. Like, and the materia system was so intertwined with how the characters were so, again, also interweaved. It was such a good symbol, so it worked so perfect for the game, and therefore materia system and the characters went hand in hand on how the story went hand in hand with the characters, went hand in hand with the materia, went hand in hand with the build of the character, and so on and so forth, and it all kind of went together. This just takes it a step further because of the fact that each character has now been given the undivided attention that you would expect in a scaled down game that has been now scaled up, but scaled down, but in a way it's been scaled down to be enhanced, to be integrated. So you could call it scaling it down because we needed to enhance the details. So to bring the details up and the overall quality of the game, to increase it and bring it up, we had to scale down. We scaled back in order to increase and enhance the effects. So, in other words, we had to scale down on Midgar and actually, observe what this game offered back in 1997. Was it any good? Why did we just want to leave Midgar? That was the biggest flaw of FF7. Everybody knows it. People who grew up alongside FF7, the first game that came out, down deep, we all know that the biggest part that we hated about 7, the first game, was mainly how we wanted to get the fuck out of Midgar. Let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of people's gripe, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people's gripe is the fact that Midgar's just sucks, man, and it sucks by design. And that's not a good, that's not a good, that's not really a good design, you know what I mean? Like, they used it as a game design. Like, they decided it, like, they wanted it to be shitty. And they used it as a game design in order to set up the conglomerate antagonistic force of Shinra, which actually proved to be effective when they finally revealed the world map to the group, you know, and letting them breathe and feel free, you know, and being being able to be accessible to the world map and explore other villages outside of the smothering, overbearing oppression of Midgar. So they kind of wanted it that way. They designed it that way to sum up this 40-hour experience into a scaled down experience that was only 8 hours. That should have really been 38 hours, but was scaled down to what was then became, I think, something like 7 to 8 hours. But that was actually that was the game that was scaled down, not this. This is actually what they originally intended for the game. All along was intended this. And the reason why I know this is because I've heard from Yoshinori Kitase about what they originally wanted for the game, but they couldn't fit it in, and they just didn't have the hardware for it, so then they had to later scrap their ideas and then hold on to them for later releases such as 13, in which case they didn't really properly meter out the story the way they really kind of wanted to do it, or they hadn't approached it the correct way. So then they would take another try on 13, and then they would give it another go at 7 Remake. And they would eventually get it right with 7 Remake, which I now consider to be FF7 canon, basically. Because at this point now... Huh? What just happened? I think I can switch arms, by the way, too. And just like in Final Fantasy X, this game also has like a... It has like optional limit breaks. These are just things that are offered in the game, you know? Like, in the system, you have to understand that there are things that do certain things. Like, at first I didn't really understand it. I was like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like, why does this do this, or why does that work this way? Or then I found out that it uses a very specific system. It uses, like, 1010 didn't use that system. It used the overdrive system, right? Where you would get overkills, and an overkill would allow you to get double the drops that you'd normally get. Well, this system is more in line with what you would typically normally get from a Final Fantasy game. More in line with that of like 10, or I guess you could say it really has that 10 feel, or 6, or 4. You know, like each character just feels very defined in their own way. Like, I don't know how to explain it, like the game's main group only has realistically the four party members, but including the guest that you obtained, it does come to more than that. And also with the DLC, officially now you get 6 party members, I guess. That's 6. Well, 5. Let's say 5 to the very least. I always look at this part of the game as sort of like the midway point, you know, before Operation Mian begins. which is like the Hell House. Because again, story-wise, it's structured very much around Final Fantasy X. If you don't believe me, just look at the story events of Final Fantasy X, and then look at the events that happen in this game, and just look at how they pale in comparison. Final Fantasy X opens up with you and Xanarkand, just like it opens up with Aerith walking around as a flower girl. And then all of a sudden, Tidus gets sucked up into a ball of light, and then he gets thrown right into action. Just how Cloud gets... The camera zooms right in on Cloud, and he gets put right into action, and then after which, he gets blasted out into a big ball of light and gets spit out into Sector 5, the ruins of Sector 8, topside of what's left of whatever, the bombing mission. Just like how he was spit out into the ruins not too far off of Xanarkand. And then Cloud has to meet up with Barrett to get paid, so he makes his way to the train, blah 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 blah, and then finds Jesse, and then eventually meets Barrett, gets his money. Same thing like Tidus, eventually gets fed by Riku, just like, you know, he gets taught by Jesse. Jesse is sort of like a tutorial for the world of Midgar, and then Riku serves as a tutorial for Spira. After which they are then gone, and then he is on his own, in which case he's then introduced to the actual main characters of the game. And that's where Waka, aka Barrett, and then Tifa, aka Lulu, or Yuna, and Aerith come into play. Aerith is the magical, imbued one, with the smaller breasts, like Yuna, and then Lulu, obviously, she's the one with the, like, she's the brunette that has the very, very, you know, large breasts. I mean, you know, she's like a 34 double D. She's my kind of girl. She just doesn't dress skimpy like Tifa, but I mean, if you put Tifa next to Aerith, which you will see later on, she's gonna easily put her to... I don't know if they do that. I feel bad for Aerith. I mean, Tifa is just so much bigger than hers. It's insane. But I guess it's the same thing goes for guys, I guess. It's just weird. So, it's such a big difference. I don't mean to bring up the subject, it's just weird. Anyway, okay. We're gonna make our way across. But yeah, there's a big difference. Some girls, apparently... I mean... I don't know if it bothers girls. I don't think it does. But... I like girls who have, like, relatively... I like girls with big tits.
Well,
Sure did.
Big breasts.
Huh?
But it's not to say that I wouldn't like a girl that doesn't like big breasts. I mean...
Nope.
But unfortunately, personality-wise, I still like Tifa
don't
more
worry,
than
we'll be on
Aerith.
the same page next
Like,
time.
I just do. I don't know how to explain it. She's the girl that I need, realistically, personality-wise. Like, I like them both. They're both nice. But the one that I need, the one that's probably best for me, and I know it, is Tifa. Out of those two girls, the one I would get along with the most, I think, is Tifa. Physically, I'd probably match up with her the most as well. Probably be the best. She's the best match for me.
Then you gotta pay the toll.
Definitely the best match for me
I'll show you what I
physically.
can do. Just a bit. We made it.
Because the reason being is because I'm too similar to Aerith. That's why I'm physically not a good match for her, because I'm way too similar to her. That's why I said even Cloud himself, he's just a good match for Tifa. Not so much Aerith though, because he shares too much of the same genes as Aerith. Look at Cloud and look at Aerith. They look way too similar. Like, I feel like Aerith has way too much of the same, you know, genes. Like, they are too much similar. Too similar. Personally, though, I think I'm a better fit for Tifa than Cloud is. When it comes down to it, like realistically, if that's who Tifa really is, if that's how she really acts, then like whoever that person is, that's the person I get along with. Like I'm her happy medium, I guess, her opposite. Because Cloud seems to act a bit too much like Tifa, you know? Whereas he should be acting more like Aerith. And that's the weird thing, why he doesn't act more like Aerith when he should be acting more like Aerith. That's his personality. And that's why Tifa keeps saying to Cloud, you're scaring me, you're not yourself. Because he's not himself, he's been acting strange. He was supposed to be kind of silly, and he used to have a hard edge about him, and crazy, and kind of kooky. And now he's kind of getting scary. But like these little things, these little details, these details are exactly the same details that were missing from the game that was released for the PlayStation 1 in 1997. You know, like all of this was missing, and just to see it now on a spectacular presentation as it is now is just great. And what we're about to witness is what I like to call the penultimate bait of the game.
A long time ago, I used to sell flowers here.
Meaning this is going to start the next big objective. In which in the first game failed to impress in any which way. They didn't even use an FMV for this, but this time around they actually gave it justice. They do this entire scene justice, actually. The entirety of this.
You were a soldier first class, right?
And they also pay more attention to the actual subject at hand.
Really? What's weird about it?
His boyfriend.
Nothing. Just that you were the same rank.
It's her boyfriend.
Huh? As who?
Zach.
The first guy I ever left.
Yep. Zach Fair. Sorry to spoil that, but it's who she says. But he can't hear the name because he thinks he is Zach Fair.
What's his name? Probably
She's
don't.
gonna say it, but he won't be able to register it because of his psychosis. Zach Fair. Or she could have said Zach. I don't know. She probably could have said Zach Fair or Zach. But either way, it looked like she said Zach Fair. That's what it looked like she said. Zach Fair. Zach Fair. Right? Zach Fair. Zach Fair.
Oh,
What was his name?
it's 'cause
Zach
of the
Fair.
motto. All soldiers have them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But what does she know? That's the question.
Sorry. I'm bumming you out.
Oh.
We should go.
If he thinks he's Zach, then how come? Interesting.
Gotta
He
look
does
forward,
think he's
not
Zach.
back.
Don't ask me as to why, though, I love the Iron Blade so much. It's just one of those weapons that really got me going. It's got me going, and it really got me going. I don't know. It's like the Kinks, you know? It just got me going, like, I can't stop it. It's got me going crazy. It's got me going, so I can't control it. Anyway, big titted Tifa's coming out in like a second. Then it's gonna truly remind people that we're mammals. We ain't nothing but mammals.
Here.
When you see this specimen of a girl, you are going to be reminded what a mammal looks like. Well, a female mammal, that is. And you'll be reminded once again that humans are indeed mammals.
Want to get to Sector 7 in style? This is the passageway for you.
I want to get to Sector 7 like a mammal. With big mammary glands to showcase that I am a mammal. And I want to be proud of being a mammal, so therefore I want to have gigantic mammary glands.
Go ahead.
To truly showcase my mammalhood.
Okay, getting home?
And if I said I
Because
wasn't,
I've never seen something with mammary glands as big as
I
this
needed to get back.
this specimen. This creature's mammary glands
Don't
are
worry.
enormous.
I have a backup route for emergencies, and it's safer too.
I mean, I've never seen. Seriously though, I think it was the biggest mammary glands I've ever seen in my life ever since I had. When I first played FF7, I was like, wow, I've never seen a girl with mammary glands that big. Breasts. Like, I'm being serious. I mean,
Guess
like,
this is it then.
it's
Ready?
just to be, I'm just being honest, you know? And like, in this game, they did make it very realistic.
Yeah.
Like, they just showcased a girl what she would look like if a girl was a 34 double D. And that's exactly what they did. Because look, they're going to show you right now. And I think it was pretty impressive to show off a girl with 34's double D. Like, it's pretty big. It's really not common to see. But they exist. I've seen girls like that, but very not common. But I mean, they exist.
Cloud, you're alive. I thought we'd lost you.
But yeah, her mammary glands are huge. They're massive.
I'll explain everything later.
I mean, girls can't deny that. I mean, come on. Look how big they are.
You should head back to 7th Heaven.
She's as skinny as a toothpick, and her breasts are like as big as her
I'll
head.
be fine.
Maybe bigger, I don't
See how
know.
much ass I can kick?
I have.
They are about as big as his head, so, I mean, you know. They're pretty big. You'll see. They're impressively big, though. I mean, it's insane, because they're realistic and impressively big.
Oh, no, you don't. You're going
And,
after her.
yeah,
She's a big girl.
they make Aerith kind of, I think, to me, personally, it makes me feel like she's got
It doesn't
nothing.
matter how strong
It's
or
weird, it's
smart you
belittling
think
to
you
her,
are.
I think, in my
You'll find a
opinion,
way to
but
turn it against you.
whatever.
And where is she
I
going
mean,
to
it's a
begin?
fact, I guess.
A mansion
She's
filled
flat
with
and
his
she's fat.
dreams. Come on, aren't you worried what might happen in
Because
there?
she's got nothing
You have to
with,
help her.
when Tifa's standing right next to her, Tifa's got like full womanhood and Aerith is like a baby,
Come on.
basically. It's kind of like with two guys standing next to each other, one guy with a 6-inch penis and the other guy has like a 12-inch penis. I know it sounds kind of funny,
Come on, Cloud. We gotta
but you
hurry.
may as well get one guy standing next to Tifa who's got like I don't know, like a forearm peepee. And then get a regular sized guy who's got like a little bit on the smaller side, 5-ish, right, 5 inches. Stand next to Aerith. Because that's sort of the quadrant, right? Because Tifa does not fit the average. She's way, way, way above average. Way above average. I mean, like, we're talking like, she doesn't match with a typical guy. She matches up with only like, to be honest, I mean, her size, the guy in question, he'd probably have to have at least a 10-inch dick, I'd say, personally, because of how big they are. They're enormous. They're not 34D, or 3060, they're 34 double D. That means that the guy in question needs to have, like, he has to be, like, I would say at least 9, he has to be over 8, right? We're talking about insane sizes, so, yeah. But, yeah, that's how big Tifa was. She was a pretty big gal. And even Sam admits it, too, once we talk to him. But I don't think any of these guys have what it takes to lock her down. That's the sad thing.
Hey there. Where you headed?
You gave a ride to a girl earlier.
Yo,
any idea where
girl,
she went?
that busted gal.
No, and if you don't need a ride, then get the hell out of here. Can't you see I'm